Today we've got some chainsaw work to do. We're moving a tree down at the other farm. But before I do that, I need to sharpen the chain because last time I used it, I dulled it somehow, and there's nothing more frustrating or dangerous than a dull chainsaw blade. Today I'm using an electric sharpener that I've used for several years. It's really handy and it does a great job of sharpening the chain. It's you can see on this metal guard, it's got angles on it. That allows you to keep the same angle on each tooth of the saw chain as you're sharpening. Do all one side, and you got to come around and do the other side of the teeth as well. After I put up my tools and clean up a little bit, then we've got to make sure that the saw has plenty of fuel and lubricating oil for the bar and chain. So we'll now fill it up with fluids. Keep in mind that the fuel that you put in a chainsaw is a fuel gas oil mixture. You don't want to get that mixed up and put straight gasoline in there. And the bar and chain oil that you put in is really important to keep the chain and bar lubricated as you're sawing. If that were to run dry, it's going to get too hot pretty quickly. Take the smaller tractor down the front end loader to remove the tree and limbs after we get it all cut up. Once again, using a chainsaw is a very dangerous activity to carry out. I lost a good relative cousin a few years ago. He'd been a logger his entire life, and a couple of years after he retired, he was cutting limbs off a tree much like this, and kickback nicked him in the neck, and he died almost instantly. So I remember that every time I'm using the chainsaw. I'm pulling the limbs back out of the way so I don't trip over them as I'm making my way around the tree and cutting other limbs and then eventually cutting the tree here. This is an apple tree that has died over the last winter. There was a couple of green limbs on it, but it's mostly dead. I cut it high to begin with because it's just easier, and I'll lower that stump after I get the main tree cut down. Now that I've got the tree down on the ground, I'm going to use the front end loader of the tractor to haul these limbs down to my burn pile. But at this place, it's kind of tricky because I've got so many low power lines around that I have to be careful not to snag one of those. And then as I take it through the gate, I've got to raise it high enough that I don't take out the fence. So it's a little tricky. With the main tree, I've got to even go a different route here again because of these low-hanging power lines. I'm going to have to take it down through the yard and then dump it over the fence and then come back from the other side and pick it up to take it to the burn pile. I just about took the fence out as I dumped this tree over also.